Hello and welcome to Recognizing Our Valued Partners on the ADA 30th Anniversary. Today we're talking to Respectability. My name is Catherine McCary and I'm the CEO and Executive Director of Disability in DC Metro. Welcome, Jennifer.
I am so delighted to be with you. Catherine, you're such a great leader of the disability movement, and particularly for social responsibility, inclusion, and great corporate governance and practice and I just am so delighted to be here with Disability in DC Metro. So Respectability is a nonprofit organization. I myself am a person with disability. I'm dyslexic, I have ADHD, and Respectability is based in Maryland, but we're a national organization also with an office in Los Angeles, and I'm just delighted to be with you today. Respectability is we really work on employment issues by ensuring through public policy and other things that employers, entertainment leaders, governors, policymakers, educators, self-advocates, nonprofits, faith-based organizations, philanthropists, and others really understand authentic disability and really the assets that people with disabilities can bring towards success in organizations and in society. We have a theory of change. So what's a theory of change? A theory of change is what you do and how you do it with a very specific goal. So our mission, our very specific mission, is to fight stigmas and advance opportunities so that people with disabilities can fully participate in all aspects of community. So our theory of change has three prongs. The first is that we're fighting stigmas by promoting authentic and accurate portrayals of people with disabilities. So we do that tremendously in Hollywood. We do that with the news media. We're working literally with NBC, with Disney, ABC, with Netflix, with Sony Studios and others on a whole wide range of media projects. We advance opportunities in public policy by using public policy. So, for example, we co-chair a task force of 120 national disability groups around education and employment skills. And we really are in touch with the federal government and with governors around policy that impacts people with disabilities in schools and particularly in the workforce. And then the third prong is leadership development. It's so important that people with disabilities are at the forefront of the disability movement, and that when decisions are made, that people with disabilities who understand the range of issues are in the room and at the forefront. So we have a number of programs to really upskill and help place people with disabilities in leadership roles, particularly in public policy, in media, and in Hollywood. As we do this work, we need to remember that when you are selling messages, that you need to test them. And I think many of your members understand this because they work for companies that do a lot of advertising to try and build customers. So when you do advertising, you typically have a range of factual messages that you could use to sell your goods or services. Ironically, inclusion of people with disabilities is no different in that different people will react differently to different messages, even though all those messages are factually accurate. And so this is a series of different messages on a national survey of approximately 1,000 people who work in the nonprofit sector and in philanthropy. And this is incredibly important because the disability community often uses sort of a charity model or a pity frame. Oh, look at us, we're suffering so much, we're out of the workforce, you should hire us. And they think that it's going to work. So I'm going to give you an example. So, you know, at the very bottom here, you see this message around people, you know, very few people with disabilities having a job. People with disabilities are twice as likely to be poor as people without disabilities. They're disproportionately impacted by issues of school suspension, incarceration, et cetera, et cetera. You see that that message works as a first choice for a reason to include people with disabilities in opportunities with only 7% of people. I mean, that is a catastrophic message. So selling that people should include people with disabilities based on pity, and really engaging that oppression Olympics and competing in that really backfires in terms of messages. What works, and it's really important, again, to use scientific polling to find out what works and to make sure your messages are factually accurate. So what works best is that organizations are at their best when they welcome, respect, and include people of all backgrounds. That includes people with disabilities. The second one is problems are best solved by working with people who have experienced them firsthand and know solutions that work. Just like the issues that impact people of different racial, ethnic, and other backgrounds, people with disabilities should be involved in issues that impact them. Again, another winning message. And I think there's a lot of people who are going to be on this session with us, and a lot of people involved in Disability In who are trying to expand the inclusion umbrella. And as we do it, it's very clear that asset-based messaging is what works best. Let's look at the next slide. Is another poll question on the next slide that shows you us indeed the same phenomena, that again, this pity frame of 32% of all federal prisoners, 40% of people in jail, and most women incarcerated have a disability does not work as a reason to increase inclusion. Again, there are more than 6 million children with disabilities, including more than 1 million Black African Americans and 1.5 million Latinx students with disabilities in our school today. Again, doesn't work as a message. Only 35% of working age people with disabilities has a job, and the poverty rate of working age people with disabilities is over twice that of persons with disabilities. Again, a failing message. And then we go to positive messaging. The number one most successful is that studies show that 70% of people with disabilities want to work, and that the majority of young people with disabilities can get jobs and careers when given the right opportunities and support. That's a very impactful message. Additionally, another successful message is most accommodations to include people with disabilities are simple, free, or low cost. With new technology and best practices, more people with disabilities can be included successfully. It's very important to use messages that work in your communications as you're in your employee resource groups communicating about disability, highlighting people with disabilities who are successful in your workplace and showing how they do it so that it can be a real model for other people to follow. Next slide. In our 3 areas of work, we're always checking to see whether it's working or not working. So as I said, our first thing is the fighting of the implicit bias. And we want people with disabilities to be viewed for what they can do. Additionally, when we're advocating for good public policy and good use of practices, and again, we do this in collaboration with 120 national disability groups, we want to be sure that people with disabilities are hired and heard, and that they're hired in such a way that they'll be able to advance in their careers just like anyone else. And in this talent pipeline, we have a series of different programs. We have our fellowship program. If you know young people with disabilities who are just finishing or recently finished college or graduate school and want to go into public policy or communications or Hollywood, we're a good group for them because we have a specific program they can do remotely from anywhere in the country. We have a Hollywood lab program that's phenomenal. We have a women's disability leadership program. We want people with disabilities to drive innovation and solutions. So we're always checking our metrics to make sure that we're able to make a difference. Yeah, next slide. And this is if you wanted to support us, you can donate money, but I will also say that we always are looking for volunteers. We're always looking for speaking opportunities. So if you're thinking, well, NDEAM is coming up, it's going to be in October, the 75th anniversary of the National Disability Employment Awareness Month. 75th anniversary. It's also the 30th anniversary of the ADA. We'd like to have some special speakers. I hope you'll reach out to us because we can provide speakers on a variety of topics. But I'm just so happy to be with you, and I'm happy to answer any questions that you might have about our work.
Great. Thank you so much, Jennifer. I'm always impressed every time I speak with you, and I learn something that you're engaged in. The leadership, for sure, and Hollywood, absolutely. There are so many things that are going on that we need to work together and make sure we share what we're doing. On this slide, we've just provided some resources and contact information. As you see on the right-hand part of the slide, Respectability ADA 30 Summit. That's a Facebook presentation that I encourage you to take a look at. You can always reach out to Jennifer, and there are other resources that I'm sure you're familiar with. I'm going to skip this slide because I'm assuming that you know who we are, but this is something that we really are impressed and important to us to have our partners being showcased, and we'll continue to do that throughout this year. Thank you so much. We appreciate your time. And Jennifer, thank you again. Stay safe. We look forward to a future time when we can come together in person. Thank you.
Thank you for all that you do. You're fabulous, and so are your members. If I can ever be of help, don't hesitate to reach out to me. Thank you, and have a wonderful day.
Thank you.